Hello and welcome to my channel. Here's my portrait of Diego Maradona, and for this one I used black and white charcoal on toned paper. So I want to experiment with this technique a little bit more with using both the black and white charcoal, but I'm going to use the white charcoal only for some of the lighter parts of the shirt, not so much on the face. The paper I'm working on is a Fabriano toned paper called clay. It's not primed with anything, just a regular paper. The pencils are, the black ones are Master's Touch woodless charcoal pencils, and the white charcoal pencil is the Kohinoor white charcoal, Kohinoor Gioconda white charcoal. I'm going to start with a regular charcoal, and I'm going to start with a soft charcoal pencil because I have two grades, the soft and the medium. So I'm going to start with the darker one, and I'm working on the hair, trying to imitate that shape and volume of the curly hair, varying the direction and the shape of those curls a little bit, and of course I'm going to have to fill in the rest using this darker charcoal pencil, and then I'm going to pull some highlights on top. The size of the paper is about 8 times 12 inches or so. Now I'm doing a little bit of shading on the face. I added a bit of value under the chin, but I still haven't finished this here. Like I said, I plan to cover this with a soft charcoal pencil first, just to get that to look really dark, and then I'm going to do a bit of blending, first with my finger, then with something that will give me a bit more precision, Tutilians brushes, and then I'll pull a few highlights at the top using erasers. I may even use the white charcoal a little bit just to see how that goes. So I'm starting to work on the face here, and I'm using a bit of that charcoal residue to shade some parts of the face to see if I can bring out those cheekbones and add a bit of shadow under the jaw. And now I switched to a sharp medium charcoal pencil so that I could work on some of the smaller details like these eyebrows. He has pretty bushy, or he had pretty bushy eyebrows, like caterpillars almost. But one of the things that you'll see me doing throughout the process is just adjusting the size and the shape of some of these darker details, because my initial sketch wasn't that great. I tried using the transfer first, but it didn't go so well, so I had to do a bit of it in freehand, and I realized later that I needed to make both the eyes and the eyebrows a little bit bigger, and the mouth a bit wider and fuller. But I'll make those adjustments as I go along, so it'll take a while for me to get the likeness, but that's the way it is with portraits sometimes, especially when you're working in a medium that is more messy and doesn't give you as much precision like charcoal. So I put in some of the darker details, like the eyes, the upper lip, because it's facing down away from the light source. Then the nostrils, I shaded the lower part of the nose, which is also facing down, and now I'm just gradually trying to build up the value in different parts of the face. I also need to add a few more details around the eyes and some other parts of the face. But when it comes to the shading, for the most part, I'm just going to use a brush that already picked up a bit of charcoal, and I'm just going to push that charcoal residue over the face and the neck to increase the amount of value where needed. Now I already do have some kind of base value because I'm working on toned paper, But I will, for the most part, be making it darker with just a few highlights here and there. Because this stone paper is very light. When I bought it, I expected it to be a bit darker actually, but it's very light, so I kind of have to adapt to it. And in most cases, I just work with regular charcoal, and I just reserve the white charcoal for some of the really lightest bits, because the background color is already fairly light. But I think it kind of speeds up the shading process a little bit because you already have that base value in place. So I'm doing a bit of shading now with a charcoal pencil, and the good thing about these pencils is that they can be sharpened to a pretty fine tip, so it allows me to shade almost as though I were using a graphite pencil or something. Of course it leaves darker marks and more texture, but that can all be blended, and I'm not too concerned about it. I'm just trying to modify the overall shape of the head and the hair by adding some of these flyaway curls. And now the overall shape of the head as well as the topography of the face is getting closer to what it's supposed to look like. I'm pulling some highlights on that hair now where some of those curls will be catching some light. And I even added a touch of white charcoal on some of the lightest ones. Now I'm going to use that white charcoal for the shirt to draw some of the lighter areas because I want them to stand out against the background. And I'm just pulling those lighter areas and doing a bit of blending with Tutillion. I used 1 Tutillion for blending the black areas and 1 for the white areas. Just making some minor modifications around the eyes and the eyebrows here as I'm trying to figure out what's wrong, because something is off, and when you're drawing portraits it sometimes takes a while for you to figure out what exactly needs to be fixed. And here there were a number of things that needed to be fixed, not just the shape of the eyes but the size as well, because the reference photo, which I'm going to include in the description if you want to check it out, the reference was kind of tricky because the eyes are in the shadow and there's a lot of contrast on my photo where it's a little bit difficult to discern some features of the face, like where exactly the eyes, the exact shape of the eyes and things like that. So I had to improvise a little bit, but eventually I think I got it to look pretty close to what it was supposed to look like. And I had to check other reference photos as well. Here I did a bit of experimenting by adding some touches of white charcoal on the face, but because it's so light you have to be careful with that, because you don't want to make some parts of the face too light or too glossy, because like I said, you need to use it sparingly. And I feel like his face here looks pretty dark and there's a lot of shadows, so I can't really use a lot of that white charcoal anyway. So here I'm mostly shading and trying to refine the topography of the face while I'm studying the reference and I'm trying to understand the shape of the face. It's a blue and white shirt he's wearing, the Argentinian national colors. And I made the blue parts a little bit too dark, so I'm going to have to either cover it with some white charcoal or take away a bit of value later. Making some adjustments around the nose and the eyes, and then adding a bit more hair here and there. The World Cup was done recently, and Argentina won, with Messi being the best player. And a lot of people did portraits of Messi. And I was thinking about doing one too, but maybe I'll do it at another time. But this time I wanted to do a portrait of Maradona because I don't know, there was something about this reference that I liked, even though it's challenging. So I was planning to do it for a while. And Maradona was also a great player, just an incredible player. Some of the younger fans may not even remember him, or may not remember him for his football skills, but rather more for his antics off court, but off the football field, I mean. But he was indeed a great player. I strongly recommend that you should watch some of his older footage when he played for the national team and when he played in Italy. He really had a great way of engaging his teammates, and his, I mean, some of his passes were like, I don't know, like they had some kind of a guidance system or something. So he was exceptionally talented, and certainly one of the best players of all time. So I'm just going to draw some details on the shirt here. Just that logo, and then adding some more of these lighter areas. I'm still not done with the face, obviously, because it doesn't look that good. There's still a lot of adjustments to be made. I don't know if you can tell that he has an earring on the other ear that is facing away from us, but I put in a lighter detail there. It's barely there, but I think you can see it. So I'm just finishing the rest of the work on the shirt here, and now I'm trying to modify the shape of the face by taking away the value using my pencil eraser. By the way, I'm using two types of erasers. I'm using the Kohinoor pencil eraser and the Faber-Castell kneaded eraser. And I often use a pencil eraser in the same way that I use a pencil for shading. I just use tapered stroke to shave off or lift off a little bit of value, just to pull some lighter marks. So here I'm making a bit more progress with the face. Like I said, I'm kind of going back and forth between the face and some other parts of the drawing as I'm trying to give myself a break and to come back later and reassess which parts of the face need to be fixed. Because there are always some minor adjustments to be made. And it's a process that takes a little bit of time. I'm doing a bit more, a few more of these adjustments around the jaw and the mouth area. And around the hair as well, because I felt like it needed a bit more volume here and there. I also drew that coat of arms on the right side of the shirt, which I'll need to finish. There are some details in it that I can't really make out, but I'll just improvise, which is what I usually do. The whole portrait is a vignette, of course, as most of my portraits are vignettes. I'm just going to try to finish this coat of arms here. I suppose it stands for Argentinian Football Association. And just finishing the rest of the vignette here at the bottom by drawing a few more details on the shirt. Maybe this could have been a bit lighter with less contrast, because I feel like it's maybe drawing a little bit too much attention, but I'll try to soften it with my blending tools a little bit. And adding a bit more of that lighter value at the top of the shoulder and the neck area. By the way, if you like my videos, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe, give me a like, comment, All of these things mean a lot for my channel. But if you want to see a lot more content and longer videos and real-time footage, then you should check out my Patreon, because I have hundreds of full-length videos there. So I'm still making adjustments on the face. As you can tell, I was kind of struggling to get it to look exactly as I wanted it, because there were some parts of the face which were a little bit difficult for me. I also kept making some adjustments around the cheekbones and the overall shape of the face, trying to decide if I have enough value in different parts of the face. And I used some of my old tactics. When I can't really see what's off, I like to look at the drawing in a mirror, or I like to step back and see if some of the darker areas are large enough. Here you can see I'm kind of adding a bit of value to the eyes and the mouth, making them just a little bit larger. Because the thing that can happen is when you establish some of those darker details first, and then you shade the face, those darker bits kind of start looking a bit smaller and thinner. That's probably as a result of value interaction, as well as the fact that a little bit of that material gets pushed around. So some of the darker lines or thicker lines that you've established first become thinner or less prominent. Making some final adjustments on the hair here at the top. I'm just going to modify the overall shape of that hair a bit, adding a few more curls at the top and on the side. I want the hair to be a bit more fuller. I want to give it a bit more volume and make it a bit messier. And I'm going to soften that with a brush a little bit, because I don't want these marks to be too clean. So it's mostly done now. I'm just going to put my signature here on the right side, and that's it. The portrait is done. I hope you enjoyed the drawing process. Thanks for watching, and I'm going to see you in the next one. Bye.